We're live. No, leave it open. Unmute. No.
I did.
Oh.
We'll call the meeting to order for the State Fair Community College Board of Trustees meeting on November 16th of 2023. Apologize for the delay, had a little bit of a technical difficulty, and so we appreciate those that were working to get that going and hope it's working at home, wherever you may be, that you can hear what's going on. So we welcome everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order and would ask for approval of the agenda as was presented.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, same sign. Under citizens' comments, we do want to note that the Pettis County Ambulance District has rescinded their offer. We had Smith and Goodson who had intended to speak, but they have withdrawn their public comment. Will there be any other comments that you're aware of, Lisa?
There are no other comments.
All right, so now it's time for introduction of the new employees. So Dr. Bates or?
I guess I get to go first again. So slipping away from her class in adult ed is our new instructor. Her boss is filling in, so I've got to hurry.
Her boss said it was okay.
Yeah. So we have Tracy Curry, and many of you may know her. She's been here before, but her path to education, was set by her parents. David Curry was very instrumental in founding State Fair as a college district, and her mother was a lobbyist, resulted in a major bill for classrooms for deaf students in Missouri public schools. So she's been, has a huge background. She's worked for us before, as she says, back at the turn of the century, as a scholarships and recruitment coordinator. She's taught at multiple other locations, such as UMKC, UCM, MCC at Kansas City, and other universities around, as well as she's well educated, to say the least, with her bachelor's in English and French from UCM and a master's in human relations from the University of Oklahoma. Again, we're really happy to get her with her background with these disabilities, as well as knowing students and her experience. So, Tracy.
Welcome, Tracy.
Welcome, Tracy.
Kevin Brockmeyer, the maintenance technician, is not able to make it tonight, so we'll introduce him in December. Dean Cunningham.
So a couple of months ago, Christy Woolery stopped by and talked to you all about dual credit and growth that we've seen there. In this year's budget, you all allowed for a new person in dual credit area to help her do the work. And after several months of trying, we found the best person in the world for it. So it's my honor to introduce Kaylee Poisel as our new dual credit specialist. She is a graduate of State Fair. She spent the last couple months covering in HR while Lexi was out on maternity leave, so she's not totally new to the college, but we're very grateful to have her.
She had some decent references.
Yeah.
Welcome, Kaylee.
Thank you.
All right, and we have a new rule. We're going to introduce an IT specialist at every meeting. Mark?
I'd like to introduce Cass Fitzpatrick. She has a graphics design background with some technology support as well. She also has all of her credit hours completed for graduating in December or May. She's been a great addition to our team. Really has. But you'll see more of her around as you come around.
Well, thank you for your help today, Cass, and welcome.
Did we get everything? Okay.
Okey-doke. All right, so we're moving on in the agenda. Looks like it's time for approval of the minutes for the October 26, 2023 board meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're ready for the warrant for October 2023. Keith?
Your packet is the warrant for October 2023. You can see it there. For the month of October, the college had disbursements of $3,909,339,313. Of that, 500,000, little 500,000 was for payments to Reesbeck for the building renovation. There was 27,432 paid to Westport, finishing up Stoffaker. I think we still have one left for Westport, before that will be done. And then, of course, Reesbeck waiting on that funding as well, but they have most of it paid at this point. So those two are quickly wrapping up. Otherwise, you see the numbers as presented there.
Entertain a motion to accept that report.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Okay, it's time for the monthly Student Government Association report. Quick story. I ran into Cameron at breakfast yesterday, or 2 days ago, and said, "Are you going to see you at the board meeting?" She said, "Oh, yeah, I'll be there." And then the next day we met, and she said, "Is the board meeting on the 30th? Because that's when it was really scheduled. We hadn't communicated that she changed." So I said, "We changed." She said, "I have to work." So I said,
I'm here.
We'll work on it. So Cameron worked it out. That's her dedication. Thank you very much. And she's not even wearing scrubs, you know. She got up early enough to change. So Cameron, thank you. What's up with student government?
So I just want to talk about what we're doing in the month of November as well as what we did in October. So one of our goals for this year was really to work on our community outreach, and just getting to know the community more and, you know, let our voices be heard by the community, because I feel like when you tell people, oh, you can do SGA, what's SGA? A lot of people don't know what it is, or that state fair even has it. So that's been one of my goals this year. So in October, we actually, we had a booth set up at the trunk or treat at the park, and we served over 1,500 trunk or treaters. So we saw a few staff members' faces there, so it's nice to see those of you that we did. It was a lot of fun. We all got to dress up. If you saw me, you may not have recognized me. I had a gold cap on, so, but it was always a lot of fun, and just, you know, getting to interact with the community like that. A lot of them were asking what we do, who we represent, and stuff like that. So it's just good getting that word out there. And then for the month of November, we are actually going to be delivering some sweets and desserts to the first responders around town. So this is going to happen on the 22nd. Just not that long ago, I believe there was an email sent out. I drafted it, and then we had our sitting advisor send it out as like an all staff and faculty email, because I didn't have that power, so he sent it for me. But basically, it was just asking for any kind of donations. If anybody's willing to make any kind of desserts or treats or anything, or even if it's just a couple dollars, we have the funding to do it. But, you know, I think it's better to get home cooked stuff than, you know, just running to Walmart and getting things. So that was something. So we're just, you know, waiting for some responses back from that. But either way, whether we get a lot of responses back or not, we are still going to be going and delivering things. After talking with Deputy here on campus and working with each of the stations, it looks like we're going to be serving a little over 100 people. So this is just a little thank you to them and for their service through the holidays and year round. So this is just something that we're going to be doing for the month of November. And then we are working on getting our December event set up right now. We are going to be doing, we're calling it Craft and Chill. It's going to be a student event, and it's going to be the week before finals. So hopefully it'll be like a de-stress type of thing for the students, because I know I get stressed out during finals week, so I can't imagine how other people feel as well. So we're just going to have some crafts and some food and stuff like that. And so just in some board games. So just an all around good time, kind of a little de-stress moment. And that's what we have right now. So yeah.
Thank you, Cameron.
Yeah, of course.
Wonderful leadership. We appreciate
Thank
your
you.
work.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Looks like we're ready for institutional reports.
A few months ago, we had a special guest in our institutional report, Dr. Andra Ferguson, who spoke about her planned dental hygiene trip to Africa. And at that meeting, one of the board members said, be sure and come back and tell us how that trip went. So back on her return engagement, and maybe a monthly just standing place on the agenda, I'm not for sure, Dr. Ferguson.
So I am Dr. Ferguson, and this is Mackenzie Simpson, and she was one of the students who attended the trip. Okay, so this was a trip that we took from June 12th to June, in the middle of June 28th, 27, 28. So sometime in the night we came home. Yeah, and so I'm going to just talk about a little bit of the partners and everything that went into that, and then have Mackenzie be able to talk about her experiences as the student who did this. So our partners in the U.S., the group that we went with were called My Little Patient, and it is primarily a healthcare organization. It advocates for global quality in medicine. And so the team consisted of dental, medical, and psychological. And they go into underserved areas all over the world and provide services. So the partners that we had there were Naledi, what was your house? And this was a women's group, and they are often refugees from other countries or from their current country from really bad situations, domestic trade. So, and then the International Peace Initiative is an organization who has several different elements. The one is the Eco Village, which we stayed. It was a food forest, and everything that we ate for the entire week was from the yard, whether it was animals or, whatever they happened to be growing there. And then they have, within walking distance, a children's home, which they call an orphanage there. We really don't use that term in the U.S. anymore, but the children's home. So those are the few of the things. I met the owner of the International Peace Initiative in the U.S. a few years ago. She had received an award for an international peace award. And so I stayed in contact with her, and she was like, you need to come see me. I said, all right. So, we've been in contact, and I had gone in once previously just to see kind of what the environment was like before we took students to those regions. So, Kinsey got to meet all of the leaders of those programs, and they were Okay, some of the activities that we did, you can see every single day was jam-packed, starting with a 15-hour flight and then 7 hours of ground travel before we even got to start what we were doing. And then the same thing on the return, of course. Now, this flight was broken up into two segments, one from the U.S., and then we went into Europe, and then Europe into Africa. So, that's a hard thing to be in the sitting position for that long, as you can imagine. So we had tough faculty, tough students, and a lot of resiliency when it came to those situations. And then on site, orientation with all the people we were going to be working with, set up the dental clinic, carry on the dental clinic, set up the dental clinic, on and off. And every single day was something new. When we weren't actually seeing dental patients, we were doing health education. They oftentimes have community members that are their doctors. If you can walk up the hill, that's the one who's going to get there. So they have to have the education to go into those regions to be able to help folks. And so Kinsey got to give presentations about what all readers.
I got to talk about things like diabetes, cancers, different types of medical conditions, anything. And they were a very responsive audience. Like they wanted to learn.
So there was one instance that Kinsey and one of the other students, they were demonstrating toothbrushing methods, and they all got their phones up and were looking right in their mouth. Their whole heads were surrounded by phones, wanting to video these things. So I was taking pictures of them videoing her. So, and then after all of this, we slept a little bit every few days. And then on the very last day, we did a safari. So we were in the region, might as well get to see some things. So I've got a couple of pictures in there. And then the flight back. And then the very day that we returned, we had the directors of Free, so thank Allison for watching. The very next day, which I was able to make it to. And Kinsey, the entire time, was taking courses. She was in a local anesthetic course and was also completing her clinical checkups on the Kenyan patients that she was seeing. So it didn't interrupt her education at all. She was just doing it in a different place. So, and I can't remember if you had clinic the next day or not.
I did.
Yeah. So, yeah, it would be. This is one of the medical flyers, and I put this in here just so you can see we've got a little state fair logo down here. This is international. This went through the entire country of Kenya. It was televised at the time. It included 7 different counties in that region, and hundreds and hundreds of people that showed up to be seen. they had a lottery system, and so because there was no way they could see everyone. So it was children, other people, for all kinds of things. They had cervical cancer, prostate cancer exams, vaccines, dental exams and treatment, eyeglasses, psych help, pharmacy, like all the different things. These people came from all over the place to get as many services as they can. So one of the great things that they did was they also put on a show, lots of music and dancing. And most of that, they said they had learned to be able to do that because even if they didn't hit the lottery that day, weren't able to have services, they at least got the show. And there have been instances of violence when like I've come 3 hours and I'm not going to be seen by anybody that you can see how that would be a pretty major thing. It also helps thwart all of those things. And so a lot of them wanted contacts, like, is there any way I can see you or we can email or text about this type of thing? Because they have medical questions that they just don't have access to. So just the fact that we were there to have any kind of resource for them was very helpful. Okay, the service, we saw in one day 68 patients, which to give you an idea of what that is, typically a usual provider sees around 8. Right, so 68, and that's between 6 people. And so Kinsey, one of the other students, Alyssa, Dr. Edelman, who is a faculty in our dental hygiene clinic now, myself, and then we had some local folks that were helping with, like there was a local dentist who was also doing screenings and things like that. So this was for the first day, and then when we were in the children's zone, we saw 95 with just the 4 of us. So lots and lots, we had long hours those days. So some of the preparation that went into this, I wanted them to be very, very prepared for what they were going to see and experience there. The political region, the things that they would, biological, the legal, the traditions, the currency, not just for to know what to expect, but for the full experience so they know what they're looking at when they're there. You know, like, oh, that is what I'm seeing. That is, you know, and as well as the health trends that they're going to see because they're not the same as the U.S. and they may not see those. Vaccinations, how many times did you get stuck with something, right? Lots and lots of vaccinations. Some of those we also have to have for our dental clinic here, but there's several of them that we don't, that things in that particular region that can be very nasty. That's a problem. So the travel, the things that go into that, this was the main team that came from the U.S. And then again, we had folks join us from other countries. There were some from the UK, there were some from various places throughout, and then of course the local Kenyans joined us, all of their professionals. Documents, there were tons of documents, visa forms for every place that you went in, and of course in the airports in those regions, like they tried to charge Kinsey, what was $100 just because they wanted to see what was in her suitcase. Yeah. So yeah, and it was fluoride for her teeth, and they're like, "Oh, that's a medicine. You're going to make a profit." Like, no, we're not. And we had the documents that would get us through that, but really, it's what they decide they're going to let you bring into the country. So we had taken a little extra cash just in case we run into things like that and anticipate obstacles. So the food, again, it was whatever came from the yard. I don't really know what all of this is. And so
It's probably goat.
So kids have been eating, for a few days, and the doctor was like, I'm getting a little tired of goat. She's like, what?
They label it as beef, but it's their beef.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't always know what those things. It's things like this that looks kind of like a breadstick, wasn't. It was a fruit of some kind, and I didn't really know what to expect. So it was an adventure every meal. And then other things like this little monkey would be on the top of our car, and you couldn't put your windows down because it would get you. And other monkeys would come with it, and like gangs of monkeys were sometimes on the sides of the road. Like it sounds like it would be not a big deal, like you could just, but they could be violent. So that was a thing you had to watch out for when you stop. Like we're gonna stop at a gas station, like where are the monkeys? Or any of those type of things. So things you just don't have to worry about in Sedalia. Not yet. These were the travels. So the roads that we took, like it is 30 miles from one of the locations where we were staying to the site. Guess how long it took us to get there? 2.5 hours. So these were a lot of our roads and our obstacles, and they moved as quick as they wanted, right? Even with horns and going to the side and, beeping them and things like that. And so, yeah, this was the ride sometimes. And then this is Kenzie right here with this bag on her. So some of the places you couldn't get to by road, right? And so this is carrying medical equipment up the hill to see these folks half a mile. So, yeah, I was like, that's a good picture to depict kind of what, we all went through. So, the organization, I put this in here. So these are the people waiting in line to get a lottery number to be seen. And you can see a lot of them are kids. Some of them the school would bring them. Parents weren't attached in any way. And sometimes they were from the children's home where they didn't have parents to give permissions. And so, but they had the tents where there was singing and all kinds of things like that were happening. Got a couple of pages of those. And you can see the line starts up here where they're just writing down names, and it comes all the way around and starts circling. And this was a huge auditorium. And this was at one of the children's home we were at. And you can see these kids are 5 and 6 years old. Never seen a dentist, of course, which many of the adults had never seen a dentist as well. So, but they were in line, like, I don't know what I'm getting into, but everybody else is in line here, which leads me to this. See all these little faces or heads watching what's going on with this one. They were trying to decide whether they were going to let it happen, right? Like send the little brother in, see what happens to him and how it turns out, right? So that happened a lot. And so we allowed people in the clinic just to be able to see this kind of thing. And then some of you can see this is just like a concrete floor. Sometimes we had chickens wander in to the clinic or dogs and things like that. Some people's pets had to give us approval, like they were okay with us being able to work on them with noisy things. Lawn chairs, and this was before we got into our full scrubs. Like you can see, we're in the full PPE just like we would be in our clinic. And they had questions. They were like, are you doing that because we're an HIV population, or is that because that's how you dress? And they were like, that's how we dress. Like, that it's nothing special about that. This particular area was known for its high occupation of HIV folks. So these are the dental chairs. This is the dental setting, and you can see there's no glass in these windows. So, if something decided to fly in, whatever, and chickens would be around anywhere. And these buckets right here they were called the spit or blood buckets. And so after so much time, they would have to dump those out and bring them back in because we didn't have working suction there. Thoughts about all that? You can see this Kenzie. She can be identified that as you.
That is me.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought so. I'm working away. These are some of the kids that finished their treatment, and they're very happy with it. They wanted to show their teeth, and they were like, take a picture, take a picture. And so I said, okay, we'll take a picture and see how this goes. They also honored everyone with these T-shirts that said,
Early health prevention.
like screening professionals.
Yeah.
So it identified them as being health professionals that they could ask them questions. And so when we first arrived on the site, I'll let Kenzie kind of explain what that was like, because I'd experienced it before. No.
Yeah.
So when we first pulled up, it was to the primary school. So it was probably 5th through 21-year-olds.
Kind of felt like a movie star. Everyone rushes to the gate and they're just like cheering you on, calling you very, like nice names and stuff. Mazingo was one that they called us, which just means white people. A lot of these children have never seen like anyone that looks like us before in their life, so it really was kind of like a little bit of a red carpet moment. But for me personally, I was like, there's a lot of you. Like there is a lot of you guys in one area. And that was a little bit difficult to see after you just got to know them on like a more personal level, to see them all in one area. I think there's about maybe like 10 to a room, less than half the size of this room, that would sleep every night. But yeah.
And it was interesting too, because when they come up, like some had shoes, some really didn't, it wasn't really a qualifying factor for anything. In fact, I think there's some in the picture maybe that you can see that some do. But I was also worried they all wanted to touch Kenzie and touch our other people, their skin and things like that. And Kenzie had really long hair. It's actually shorter now than it was there. And I was like, I hope they don't try and get some of the race. Those are the things I worry about. So, but she was very pleased with all of it. And then, so one of our other students is of mixed race, and she's half black, half white, and they were like, what are you? And she said, I'm black. And they're like, no, you are not. And so she would try and explain it, and they're just so very direct, you know, which is very different than our culture here in asking those types of things. And she would explain, like, this is a picture of my parents, like, really, that, you know, I am both races. And so they were suspicious, but of course loved her. And the name that they caught on to was Kinsey. And so for a time, all of us were called Kinsey. So it worked. We needed to respond. So some of the downtime, I like to show these things because, like I said, we work very hard while we're there, but even in between the work times, there's things to be seen. Like when we very first arrived, these are a couple of our students that took up a game of soccer in the yard with some of the returning folks from the orphanage. When they go off to college, they come home on summer break, which that's where they were because they don't have a home. And so they were there, like they cook and they build things for the orphanage and stuff like that. So they were all the same age as our students. And so that's a pickup soccer game. Kinsey was painting this child's face, and then the child also insisted that they paint Kinsey's face, which happened. And then even like this, like she was on the bus studying because, like I said, the studies didn't stop, even though we were where we were. It's like you can study anywhere in the world that you want to. Nothing needs to stop. And then like we got to take this boat ride. I can't remember the name of the river. Do you remember?
I do not.
But it was very much like chocolate milk, but beautiful. Like the mountains were beautiful. It was just, it looked like a scene from a movie. And then I took a picture of Alyssa in this chair. So she, they're both, all of our students are young people. And she said, I had no idea what you were talking about the back hurting after seeing so many patients. She said, but I've got to sit down for a little while. I said, yeah. After you start seeing some hardcore patients for hours at a time in the same positions, it's very difficult, very hard on your body. So she's smiling like, you were right. Yeah, here I am. Sorry.
Beautiful.
It was so neat, even with these lions, we were close enough to see the color of their eyes. They were right outside.
What color were they?
They were like a golden brown. Beautiful.
But also, every animal blends in with their habitat. Like, we know that to be true here. Like, you see deer, you don't see them, and then they're right in front of you on the road. We were very close, like she said, to these lions, and our guide was like, oh, here they are. And there's like a whole like pride of them. And I was like, where? You can't see them until you're like right up on them, and then it's too late. But
so the connections that were made in traveling, like you can see, these were all of our escorts. They wanted to be very, very safe everywhere we go. Someone who could speak English as well as the local language. Swahili is the primary language in the more rural areas. In the bigger cities like Meru, they're more English-speaking type patients, but a lot of the in the rural areas were not. For instance, like I mentioned, there's a really high incidence of HIV in that region, which perpetuates other problems like cancers and things like that. And I have a picture. I did not include it because I didn't want to rattle anyone, but we found oral cancer of the mouth that was down in through the throat. And had no idea. He said, my doctor told me I needed to quit smoking. Yeah, so some referrals that were made like that they didn't have access, had no idea what was going on, and it really, really advanced cases. So, and then, like I said, we have to eat later, all of us. And this is one of the health groups that we talked to. And you can see this leader has on a state fair t-shirt. He said, I will wear this. And, wanted his picture taken and wanted us all to see that. The Rotary Club here in Sedalia was one of our sponsors at Kinsey to attend, which was a fantastic thing. When we were there, the president of their Rotary Club, I took a picture with, he was responsible for funding some of the locals driving to the sites. Like they sponsored Kinsey and like the Rotary Club both brought them together, and I just thought that was beautiful. So I said, oh, I got to have a picture with you. And I don't know what his name was besides of his father. I know he was a priest, and that's all I could really make out. His English, I didn't quite follow it. And then even like driving home some days, like this waterfall, we had to climb down through the jungle to get under this. And it was just like a 15-minute jaunt that, again, you don't see driving home in Sedalia. And so we'd have instances like that all the time. And then this is another one of the groups that we did health education. And then I've got just a couple of pictures that I'm driving along. This is a canola field. And you can see most of the roads there are dirt. It's really like, even in some of the travels, it's like driving through an unplowed pasture in a vehicle, bumpy, and you might hit a ditch, or, you don't know quite what you're getting into, or heavy ruts or something like that. And then in some of the bigger areas, there's pavement. And then these are just some fun, like the chicken in the clinic. And these little ones all had toothbrushes that they kept in their mouth. They were very happy about that. So we had several different dental suppliers who brought us fluoride, varnish, and toothbrushes. We had rented some of the equipment and dental instruments, some of the power. That was one of the things too. Power was intermittent. And so sometimes we would be able to use power instruments and sometimes not. Sometimes we would have electricity, sometimes we would have showers, sometimes not. So at least every 2 days we would have water at least. And so Kinsey had never had to see a full-time patient without a power instrument.
Yeah.
You can tell with that.
It was very difficult, kind of like, I would say, like trying to chisel away at sound, especially like these patients. They have never had a cleaning in their life, and most of the patients that I saw were in probably post-15 age. I think I looked up and you had seen like 3 patients in the time that I had only got. We divide them out up into like quadrants. So like 1 quadrant out of 4 I had gotten done when she had gotten about 3 patients completed. So it was definitely hardcore work. Yeah, sure.
So I feel like it was a successful trip. All the faculty felt and the students felt like they had learned things. They also made connections with the team we were with, as well as the community residents. You still stay in contact with some of them as well.
I do, yeah. Some of the, like, they're student, I call them students because they are students. They're around my age. I'm 23. I still am in contact with them pretty much weekly. And me and Alyssa, and then their names are Kelvin and Patrick. And we all have Zoom or Skype calls about once a month.
So very much an experience. The amount of patients that Kinsey saw while we were there equaled what, 2 to 3 weeks?
7
before here.
weeks.
7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
7 weeks of US time. So, and then what she did when we came back. So very, very proud of her and all the people that went. It was, it's a fantastic opportunity. So we appreciate any support for that. Thank you. Any questions? I know we've got lots of weird answers.
What a memorable trip. Thank you for sharing.
The equipment and whatnot that you said you rent, who rents it to you?
We bring it.
So you backpack it in like in the picture? Okay.
You can take 2 checked luggage, and one of them is all dental, and then there's your personal for each person that goes.
Okay.
Do you go every couple of years or something? Ish.
It depends on the region. Like that's the first time I've taken students to Africa with me. So last time it's mostly Central or South America. So, and it depends on, they call me sometimes to see if we have a team and if we're looking or, what we're looking at. Yeah, more than once a year is too much. So for me, anyway. I'm trying to talk with students into I was like, this, do you, like take it, get your bachelor's degree, let's make you faculty and come back and let's do this. So some of the original students that went on one of the first trips are doing that. They go on trips continuously now. Not as faculty yet, but they continue to do this kind of work even as long-time professionals. So we hope to perpetuate it all and keep it going.
On top of this, we have the best dental hygiene program around, and that's a quantifiable statement in terms of the passage rate on their licensure exams, etc. And so you can see a little bit why, because what makes a good instructor is passion for the discipline. And Dr. Ferguson definitely has that. And so we're very proud of you, and Kinsey, we're proud of you too for your work.
This was Kenzie's first time out of the country too.
That was a whole new experience, but I felt safe because I was with you. Like I feel like you've been everywhere.
Well, she said, I'm mean, I'll take care of you.
Thank you.
She's very good. All right.
Thank you.
so much.
Very much. That's awesome. Okay, looks like we're ready for the president's report.
This is an extremely busy time of year at the college, and our faculty and staff are working incredibly hard, not only in finishing up the semester, but getting students enrolled for the spring semester. And so I have several things to update you on, but it's going to reflect a lot of hard work, and it's not work by me, it's work by these folks here in the room and the faculty and staff at the institution. Really proud of their hard work and what they're doing. I want to give you a quick update on our facilities projects. Our fielding project, the backfill from moving out welding and precision machining with an automation lab and HVAC. That project is essentially complete except for the equipment that hasn't been delivered that's back ordered. So we have a temporary solution in place for our electrical panel, and we're awaiting the elevator. When, essentially, the rest of the project's done. We anticipate doing some non-credit training for HVAC in the spring, and we'll be working in the automation lab. That's the exciting space. I'm anxious to show you when that gets fully outfitted and ready to go. Our CAT project, the new Center for Advanced Agriculture and Transportation Technology, that project is, bids are due December 1st. We had 7 general contractors interested in bidding on the project. One of them has backed out, but we do anticipate getting bids from 6 general contractors on that. So we will award the bid at the December 19th meeting. So that's moving on as scheduled. The residence hall bids go out soon, and those will be due in December. And we plan to approve the bids for that project in January 4th at a special board meeting. There has been a lot of general contractor interest locally in that project, and so I think we'll have a good bid project process for that as well. We're still in the design phase for the outdoor athletic facilities and silent fundraising stage of that project. And then as we move out automotive to the new facility, we have submitted a MOIC cells application for 2025, FY 2025 to fund a project in Tech 2 where Automotive Lab is now, to build a health science center for dental hygiene and OTA. This would allow expansion of our dental hygiene program and would bring our OTA program all together. Their lab is, both are currently located in APC. So we are the #2 funded project there. We're waiting to see how that works out in the governor's budget and if that's approved. But we're making plans for that now. We've been meeting with architects. That is a specialized medical facility, so we want architects with experience in that area. And so we will have a very tight timeline for that project because its funding all occurs in FY 25 when we open the CAT building. So we have to be all of our ducks in a row ready to go. So those projects are all in good shape. We've had a couple of exciting new program announcements that I have 2 of those listed in your agenda. One is the Goldman Sachs 2000 Small Businesses, and in all of your seats you have a flyer that describes this program. Goldman Sachs, is part of their community reinvestment requirements, has started years ago a program called 10,000 Small Businesses, through which they invested in supporting small businesses, existing businesses, helping them to, they got started up, helping them stay successful and grow. That program was extremely successful. They've served 14,000 businesses in the 10 years, in the 14 years that program has been in existence. But as they looked at the companies served, they realized that they were primarily serving urban businesses. So they decided to change the focus of the program to 10,000 rural businesses. And so this year, they started a program in North Dakota and in Arkansas. And in 2024, they're expanding to Missouri and South Dakota. And so they typically partner with the community college to host the program. So they have curriculum, they have instructors already hired. They come to a community college campus who serves as a host, introduces them to local communities, provides faculty and access to community people pertinent to the curriculum. So they started asking around contacts in Missouri, and there was one community college names that came out, State Fair Community College. And they were told, if you want to, a community college with a focus on workforce training, State Fair Community College is your place. So they gave us a call. We explored the options and told them a little bit about the college, and they accepted us as hosts. So we're very excited about this. This is a free program. It's an application basis. They will accept 40 small businesses from all over the state, from all over, all sorts of small businesses. The minimum standard for a small business is 2 employees. That can include the owner, and $75,000 in revenue. But the businesses can be much larger than that, with 100 employees or more, and very strong revenue. So they're not targeting entrepreneurial startups. They're targeting those businesses that are already in place or started up, maybe not big enough to qualify for angel investors, but needing something to take them over, carry them on, to continue to grow. And so it's a wonderful program. The class will be in Sedalia, February 21st through the 23rd. And that's the introductory 4 days. Then they'll participate in some hybrid and online instruction, and then they'll wrap it up in May 7th through the 10th and have a graduation on the 10th. Their statistics are very strong. Businesses that go through their program increase revenues, increase sales, have great success. So, love your help in promoting this to businesses. The application deadline is December 1st, so it's a really tight deadline. The application takes about 10 minutes to fill out. If you have any questions, you can refer people to Kelly Asbury in our Small Business Development Center. So, any questions about 10,000 small businesses?
We will have an opportunity for a major event, kickoff event here on campus. That will be, we were told that probably the president of Goldman Sachs will be here. The chair of the foundation will be here. And they've done they've had U.S. senators appear, congressmen, governors, people like that. And this will be an opportunity. And we'll probably have we will have an opportunity to be there to welcome the businesses to campus and to the program.
All expenses paid for the businesses traveling in. They'll put them up in a hotel here in town. They provide their meals. So it's a good deal. Any other questions? Secondly, another exciting new program in our strategic plan, we have a focus in the last couple of years on students. And if you harken back to the beginning of our college, the foundation with our first president, Fred Davis, was that special service to students, that customer service. When you talk to people who have graduated from State Fair Community College, they always talk about someone, some person who has impacted them in their lives, in their time at State Fair Community College. So that's a very important thing to us, and we want to make sure that we continue that customer service across the board. So that's part of our culture. So for us to sustain that as part of our culture, we need a training program and a way to pass that along as we hire new employees and things like that. So we came across a program based on research at colleges, and it's called Caring Campus, and it provides just that. It provides a structure for training employees and for carrying that on as part of your culture. Other colleges have had huge success with this program. It's resulted in increased enrollment, increased job satisfaction for employees. So we applied for the program, and the best thing about this is at the same time, this company got a grant to provide this. They too found out that they were mostly serving urban community colleges. So they got a grant to serve rural community colleges for free. And we happened to be the first college in the community to apply for that grant. We were approved for that. So we will be kicking off soon the Caring Campus initiative for free. And we have a call, I believe, next week or the week after to start planning out that process. We'll likely have, probably because of the cycle of the college, we'll start those class training sessions after the first of the year. So that's exciting. And then finally, I want to provide some data that I think illustrates the kind of work that our faculty and staff are doing that highlights that. And we also have as part of our strategies a focus on our community. That's important. I always say community is part of our middle name, and so that's important for us. Well, in basically the last week primarily, though some of them have been in the last 2 weeks to 2.5. We've had more than 4,600 K-12 students on campus from throughout our service region. This week alone, we had 3,200 elementary students in our theater seeing the musical Junie B. Jones musical. I talked to the principal at Horace Mann today, where I had Thanksgiving dinner with the students, including some kindergarten. I sat with the kindergarten first graders. They thought I fit in well with that group. Anyway, the principal said it was the best show she's ever shown. She's taken a lot out to see it. So it's a really good show. We had 750 eighth grade students this week visit the CTC from throughout Pettis and Benton County and even some other areas. Some folks that are kind of looking at our CTC, maybe we should join. We've had 11 schools participate in the DOM Escape, bringing 433 kids in. This week alone in admissions and health sciences, had recruiting events, had more than 100 students on campus for three different events. We had students from Warrensburg Area Career Center on campus and Saline County Career Center checking out our automotive program. Last night, we had FFA on campus for a public speaking contest, 63 students from as far away as Eldon and Harrisonville. And so I think that just in the short time, that shows the kind of impact State Fair Community College and the reach it has into our community. So I'm very proud. That took, the organization of that, so somebody's in charge of organizing it, but it took everybody in this room and at the college really to pull it off, from food service to maintenance and custodial all aspects of the college. So proud of that.
I had the opportunity to join a group of 7th and 8th graders on the CTC tour, and it was absolutely amazing. I mean, every part of it was interactive and attractive, and it was just captivating. All it was. And riding back on the bus with a group of 50 kids, they were excited. They were trying to figure out what they wanted to do, what program they wanted to be a part of. So, yeah, the staff. If I know if I started naming, I'd miss half of them. Everybody who put that on, absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for that. It was fantastic.
So that's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Bates. Alright, so let's see. Looks like we're ready for financial report. Keith?
We are.
The exciting part of the meeting.
You notice anything different about this meeting over our meetings?
Yeah.
You learned less. You have. You're really happy. And smiling. So the financial report for the month of October, I think I told you last month that I was hopeful that there was a little bit of a surge last month, and I was watching it, and it appears that it was, that this month is back more where I would expect for 4 months to be. I want to make a note here. I'm at the top of FY 24, 25%. Obviously, that's 33.3%. Then get that part updated. So on here, basically what I would tell you right now is, as I look at it and I look at things, it looks like we're basically pretty much on budget. I won't say we're probably a little over budget in revenues, but there's some, that has some corresponding revenues as well. So overall, I'd say we're probably net about where I expect to be this time of year. We're 33.9% of our expenses. Expenses a little heavy earlier in the year. So all in all, I would say that we're probably about where I expect us. Yes. So that's that. The next thing I want to talk about in the financial report is over the last few 6 months, it feels like it's been years, but it's been a few months, we have been working with Goldman Sachs. He's with Goldman Sachs. I'm working with the other end of it, Moody's. We've been working with Moody's to get our re-rating on the college on essentially our credit rating. That was concluded finally last Friday when they officially gave us our credit. Our issuer rating, with the issuer credit was rated at A3. That is where we were 2 years ago. I want to go through a little bit with you, but A3 is still considered investment grade. It's where a lot of the colleges are, and it's very good. It's a very good rating for us as a smaller rural community college, because we're being compared to in the same light as Ohio State's, Cal Berkeley's, Harvard's, University of Texas's, Kansas State's, Kansas of the world, so that side. So it's all the same criteria going into it. So there's a report here. I want to have you go to a couple of pages in the report. I'll show you the one I want you to look at. I want to go over a few things with you so you can understand a little bit about it. There's a report that has draft confidential on it. If you'll go to, I'll just go through this. Actually, I do want you to hear, because they make commentary about us and what they believe and what's going on, and it's worth the read of it. So if you look, and I'll just start with the first page. So A3 stable credit profile reflects its strategic position as a low-cost provider of education in rural Missouri with good revenue diversity underpinning operations. Favorably, the college has tuition setting authority, receives tax-based support and state appropriations, and they show that Missouri is a stable, rated well, providing revenue stability. And one of the things they mentioned too that they talk about, though it says no enrollment has declined 18% over 5 years, so that's what our decline is in enrollment, as is for most colleges. Net tuition revenue has grown slightly, and good budget management aids generation of solid EBITDA margins. Then they talk about offsetting considerations, including the college's relatively small scale and ongoing enrollment challenges, though the district has managed to grow net tuition revenue and maintain solid debt service coverage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of the general viewpoint they give of us. You'll see there they they look at they give you the breakdown of kind of where our revenue comes from. The strengths, good wealth profile with total cash and investments providing a 1.1x coverage, expenses, good revenue diversity. Credit challenges were small. Small with 42 million in fiscal revenues. Some exposure to ad hoc state appropriations cuts, meaning that depending on what the legislature does every year. And then ongoing demographic pressures reflecting the 18% 5-year decline. That's kind of what we're looking at. I want to go to the second page. I want to go to the table. The bottom table you see down here. These are the things after you give them all the data, and they got all the data. They talked to it all came down to these factors. And there's a couple others, some other that are subjective. But you can get some, it allows you to see some feeling here. So if you look at like our FT enrollment, they got 5 years of data. In 2018, we were 3362. We're at 2737 now. That's 18% enrollment decline. We've also noticed, though, compared to 2021, we have stabilized. We appear to be actually up this year. So that downward trend is bottoming and starting to go back up. That's something we can look at and be proud of. If you look at our operating revenues, about 36 million in 2018 to 42 million now. So we're increasing the operating revenues coming in. Other things to point out, our cash on hand from 23.5 million in 2018 to 40 million in 2022. This includes foundation monies as well. They as far as Goldman Sachs is concerned, we and the foundation are one and the same. Because that, if anything, if we ever had a financial exigency, they would, they look at that as underpinning us and also the support they give us. So good there. Want to point out, you'll see something that's could confuse you. They show our adjusted debt going from 88 million to 125 million dollars in debt. In that debt is included our share of the unfunded liability of PSRS peers. Okay, and they recalculate that debt from how PSRS and peers calculate it, and they get a large number because they believe their actuaries are better than PSRS's actuaries. So they recalculate. So that is why we don't have 125 million in debt, but on the books, on paper, we have an unfunded liability to PSRS that we have to take our share of. Okay, so that's why you see 125 million there. And that number comes and impacts us because there's a lot of stuff compared to debt as you go down some of the factors. And then, but a few things to look at. Our EBITDA margin, that's the third up from the bottom, is 17.3, up from 7.6% in 2018. Our monthly days cash on hand above that was 84 in 2018, 200 monthly days cash on hand. That's very, very strong. And our debt service covered at 4.2 versus 0.4. So financially, we've made some tremendous strides in the last few years that have put us on very stable ground. When you go then to the last page I'll show you is page 4. Because this is where the rubber meets the road. So there is a methodology how they score us. I took the methodology and I actually scored us as A1, but then I'm a little biased. Because you see on here, and I'll go down the scale, you see factor 1, which is 15% of the score, which is basically our size. We're 42 million. To get anywhere higher than what we have to get up to $100 million. So we are there. That score is a BAA. BAA is obviously lower than A. I prefer to have A's, but we're not going to change that. We are what we are, and their scale will never get us out of that range. So I got 15% of my score is already fairly low. Next one, actually, I position higher. The next one is subjective. It says brand strategic positioning. You see the BAA. There's no objective score of brand. They just make a judgment based on what we tell them, what they see, what they think. When you talk to them, a lot of it has to do with the fact, again, we're a rural community college. We are not going to be attracting people from all over the nation to come here because we have the best engineering program in the nation, or the best law school, or the best athletic team, or the best whatever. We're just going to come from our region. They consider that from strategically, you don't have the ability to go where you are. So what happens is we get scored as the BA. I scored us actually up in the A, so that was subjectively that's why I got a little higher, but 'cause I thought we have a great brand in strategic positioning, particularly given what our challenges, but you understand their point of view. So, and that's 10%, that's 10% of the scoring. So 25% of the scoring are things that we're not going to change. After that, everything after that, which are mostly objective measures, are all A's or A, small a, or A, double A, which is the annual debt service. A, big A, little a is the best rating you can get. So if you look at everywhere else, from our operating environment, meaning are you doing well with the money you have, it's an A. Our EBITDA margin, AA. You know, our cash and investments in A. Cash and investments operations, AA. A in adjusted debt. Annual debt service coverage, A. They did give us an A for financial policy and strategy, so good there. So basically, everything we could control, we were scoring in the A's. So, and if you notice here, and I had as A1, you notice here, they said our scorecard indicator rating should be A2, but yet they assigned us a rating of A3. That is because of their perspective on the higher education market in general. Enrollment is down in higher education. It continues to go down in higher education as a sector. The nation in generally is questioning, more and more questioning the value of higher education in general. As they look at that from an investment standpoint, 10, 20, 30 years out, they are negative on higher education as an investment. That causes that notch down, not just less. But we've got it rated A3 and stable, which is good. I wanted you to see what went into that. I want you to see that we actually scored very, very, very well on those factors that are within our control. I do think there was some pressure to upgrade us, but I think in the end, the environment of the higher education sector probably was inside of that. So just see it. Not sure it's going to change anything, but it is a third-party evaluation. But the main thing I want you to do is also some of the strides we had made in some of the measures that they do look at in terms of evaluating this.
So were we low in marketing before, the last time? You don't know.
I don't know. I'm sure they put us at, well, I'm sure we were a BAA last time. My gut is they probably kept us there because it's more the fact that we don't have the ability really to grow beyond where we are and what we are, no matter how good our strategic plan is. Now, they could take us down from that. They could still take us down. They could have taken us down to a C or something. I think that is as good as we can expect to get, given that we are not chartered to be a world-class university, bringing in people from literally across the states and everywhere, crossing lines to create a destination. We serve a geographic purpose.
The response we got from the staff was she was impressed with the
very
initiatives that were
impressive.
going on, the strategies, and
Yeah.
so it was more of the.
So I'm very happy with the scoring I see there. I'm very happy with the rating. I think that being rated A3 and stable, I think is good. I think there are probably a number of colleges that are probably going to notch down a little, given if they were that, if I look at, if they were that rigid on us, they'll be rigid throughout the whole, particularly if you're a smaller college. At least we're not a small.
The same day they released the rating for State Fair, they released the rating for the U.S. government. So if, that also went down. So
same day, yeah, they absolutely released they changed the outlook for the U.S. debt from favorable to negative, from stable to negative. So there's that. Lastly, so any questions on this? Like I said, more than I want you to see it, understand. We'll do this again in a couple of years. And lastly is the some expenses we made in the month of October that were over and above the $2 million mark that were not part of your approval. All of these were in the budget. There's nothing out of budget. But we EBSCO is a database we subscribe to within the library for our nursing programs. Those costs keep going up, and with that was the 14,786. The Coral Risers actually are paid for from the software fund. So That's budgeted through Mary, but they do have new fuel risers now, so know that, and that was helped through the stop fund every year. Assessment technology is 15,000. It was in the budget. It's our testing package for nursing. And lastly, NeoGov, again, which is budgeted, is our personnel hiring software. All this was budgeted for that, just so you know. Stand on that.
Thank you, Keith. All right, so it looks like the next item on the agenda is board discussion. I guess we'll start off, MCCA annual conference, just got back from that last week, is that right? It seems like a long time ago, and yet, guys, we did just get back. So Dr. Bates and Richard and myself were able to go as far as those sitting here. Many faculty were there. Richard, you want to share anything that's?
There's not a whole lot of programming specifically geared to trustees at this meeting. It is primarily in teaching and curriculum and then various administrative functions. At least that was my field. So I made it a point to attend each of the presentations done by a state fair presenter. And do that. So that was my strategy, and to be there to support and to see how others were seeing and how we were doing things.
Yeah. Same thing here, expanding the opportunity was the theme. And so, I kind of chose the same thing there, as far as things for trustees, because this one is for the community colleges. So just being able to see the talent that we have at State Fair Community College, they share their, whatever theme they wanted to, but to get to see that and always learn. And I just, they just did an amazing job. So we thank them for that. Had excellent speakers that hopefully would inspire us as well. The general sessions they had. So we appreciate the opportunity to attend and go. I might just mention that, as he did, Horseman Elementary, we want to give a big shout out to them because they include others into their Thanksgiving dinner that they have for their kids. And so I had received an invitation to get to go as well. So got to eat with kindergartners as well today. We did not sit together, so we, kind of had somebody guide us. And so just a shout out to Horseman Elementary because they, were trying to include people into the community and get them, and they introduce. I mean, it's not a matter of you just go to eat. They kind of have a little program, and so then they were also, introduced us to who is here and why, maybe who they represent. So thank you, Horseman Elementary, if you're listening. Anything else on board discussion? I think one thing we have that we need to think about is in February will be the legislative for ACCT. We need to think about who's going to go. Always those opportunities to meet with legislators is very important.
I would like a heads up before you leave of if you would like to go, so we can, decide
Who goes?
Who
Who
and
gets to go?
if we can and plan that because there is early bird registration, significant savings, so we want to.
Yeah, absolutely. So think about that before we leave today. Anything else? All right. Moving on in the agenda, we have a date change. This is maybe kind of looking ahead, but July 2024 board meeting recommended that maybe you want to tell this or let me just read.
I can tell the reason why because it involves me. So,
okay, I thought.
I've been asked to serve on sort of a think tank with EAB, and it requires one on-site meeting in Washington, D.C. on the same date of our board meeting. So before I committed to that, I needed to see if we could move the meeting proposing the week prior. Thursday prior.
So hopefully you had a chance to look at your calendar since we received this ahead of time for that Thursday, July 18th of 2024. So with that, it's recommended we change that date. I would entertain a motion to do so.
So moved?
Do I hear a second? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. The next meeting will be, the general session meeting will be held December 19th at 5:30, right here in the Hopkins boardroom. We had changed that meeting as well already and at another time, but just make sure you get that on your calendar.
I haven't talked to Keith yet, but I anticipate the audit would be at this meeting.
Yes.
And so I'm not for sure, we may have a work session on the audit prior to, I don't know, we can.
We might. If we do it, we'll be short.
Yeah.
All right, so you might make sure that SGA knows that.
Yes, we have a process now.
Okay, yeah. She was caught off guard. Good. All right, so the next thing on the agenda is the request for closed session. So we will, of course, go to that, then we will come back out, and then the meeting will be adjourned. But want to welcome all of you, and we have a guest here. So what'd you tell me?
Sharon.
Sharon. So nice to have you with us. Come back and see us. You're your neighbor, but that's okay. Come anytime. All right, so I will entertain a motion to go into closed session for hiring, firing, disciplining, or promotion of personnel pursuant to RSMO section 610.0213 and lease, purchase, or sale of real estate pursuant to RSMO section 610.0212.
So moved.
All right, roll call, please.
Amy Rushier?
Yes.
Tim Carr?
Yes.
Justin Tubbs?
Yes.
Tom Oldham?
Yes.
Richard Parker?
Yes.
Patricia Wood?
Yes.